Alright guys, so my video ran out, my battery ran out, and I had to refocus, and hopefully my dogs won't start barking. I just had a few more things to say. I'm going to try to edit this together, but if you have a little blip in between, then you'll know why. Anyways, so the last thing I wanted to say was, let's see. Okay, so I was talking about the libido and how the people in the Victorian age thought that we should focus our things on other things besides our libido, and that was a waste of our energy, basically. And it makes a lot of sense, because if we were focusing on more noble pursuits, then we might actually be fulfilled and not constantly seeking after things like drugs and alcohol and everything else that's going on in society, which is a whole nother topic, so I'm not going to go there. But that's kind of a good point. And another point they make is about shame. I'm not talking about shame in a way like you want to put someone down or condemn them and say, oh, you horrible person. But when I watched that Frontline video, I did not see any shame in those girls. Yeah, that was really sad. It was really perplexing, too. And all I could think is that maybe they've been watching people like Madonna that have taught them that you shouldn't have shame about what you're doing, and it's all okay as long as it makes you feel good. But in the end, it's not okay. Most of those girls end up on drugs, and they get washed up in the business eventually. And I've even read that they become prostitutes. Most of them are prostitutes. And I mean, shame is there as sort of a boundary to say, you know, you can go there if you want, but it's not going to be good for you. And God gives us those boundaries, and we take them or leave them, and that's our choice. But I do think that I don't think that necessarily the Victorian period was so prudish as they make it out to be. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but they had some good ideas, and they had some common sense. And this was the definition of obscenity back then. Indecency was of that which is unbecoming, unfit for eyes or ears. The capacity to recognize indecency were judgments of appropriateness. Knowing which things were large enough to appear in public and which things were so fragile that they required the shade and protection of privacy if they were to obtain the meaning and emotional resonance depending on a highly modulated sense of the sacred and the shameful. I know that's a lot to take, but listen to it again, because that's what's happened. Is we've taken something as beautiful as sex, that's meant for marriage, it's meant for long-term relationships that build and invest in our world, and it's turned to cheap. And that's exactly what the industry wants to do. The pornographers, the big business people, that's all they care about, is the profit that's coming out of it. So I want you all to think about what your part is in pornography, and watch that video. Please watch that video on Frontline, because it's amazing. I wanted to say one last thing. So another thing that one of the things in the protest was the girls protesting in the nude, or taking their shirts or their pants off, or to say, well, I should be able to do this too. Well, that's kind of like just like an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. Well, if guys are going to be, you know, able to do it, I should do it too. Or saying, well, I'm going to protest in the nude and you can't touch me, like a little kid. Like, it's kind of childish when you think about it, and it doesn't work, does it? Like, it's like, well, I have a right to be nude and you can't touch me. But with all that men have been inundated with, and even women now, because with all the homosexuality being so out there, and all these pornography videos with that in it too, even women are going to be after women if they are hardened hearts like that. So, and men after men, and I mean, it's Sodom and Gomorrah when you think about it. So my point is that maybe you should have the right to be able to go around naked, but it doesn't work. It's not going to work in this society. It's not realistic. And it's not going to change anything to go out there and do that. What we need to do is get to the root of the problem. And this is one of the big roots of the problem. And to end this, I want to talk about Donald Trump a little bit, because I want to talk about where he's at with this issue. Like I've said through this whole thing, I want to talk about this issue. I don't know where he's at personally, but I see things in his life that don't make sense if he's a man who's obsessed with sex. Okay, if he's obsessed with going after women and trying to grab their you-know-whats. How did he build such a big empire? How did he have such a beautiful family? Now, he admits that he wished he spent more time with them and the women did most of the work, but he took part in that. And he supported them to the fullest and gave them everything they needed. And he was always a part of their lives. How did he have time for all that if this is all he was doing is worrying about engaging his libido? I don't think that's true. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't line up. He also used his own money to become a servant for us. And that should have some respect. I don't know what he's going to do with it. God only knows. He could turn into a tyrant for all we know. But on this issue, I don't think we should be saying anything. I think we should just leave it alone and move on. And certainly not make ourselves look worse in it as women. So that's all I have to say, and I appreciate you listening. I know it was long. I hope you got something out of it, and put aside, whatever thing you don't agree with, and just take something that can help you to become a better person and help to make America great again, because that's really what we want to do. I know in our hearts that's what we all really want to do. So thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.